We are a little less than a month out from those very important Senate runoff elections in Georgia. President-elect Biden will travel there next week to rally for the two Democratic candidates. Voters in the Peach State will once again head to the polls on January 5th to pick their next senators. These runoffs could not be more consequential. The outcome will determine which party controls the Senate. Republicans currently hold a slim two-seat majority in the chamber. If the Democrats take both runoffs, Vice President-elect Kamala Harris becomes the tie-breaking vote. Let's bring in Representative-elect Carolyn Bourdeaux. She will soon represent Georgia's 7th congressional district. That is an area just north and east of Atlanta. Congresswoman-elect, welcome and congratulations on your win. Before I get to the runoffs, I do want to talk about your November victory. You are the only Democrat to flip a Republican House seat in earnest this year. Back in 2018, you lost that same district by fewer than 500 votes, the closest race in the country at the time. So what do you think was the biggest difference for you this time around?
Well, thank you for having me. This district is very, very diverse. 25% of the people in this district were born outside of this country. And really what we did in 2018 was we reached out to and activated the voters and let them know that they had a voice and they had someone to talk to across the very diverse communities of the 7th District. Of course, I came within 433 votes in 2018, but I closed a 20 percentage point gap to get there. We turned around in 2020, really repeated what we did before. We had just an extraordinary grassroots campaign to reach out, and were able to push it over the line this time. But to give you a sense of it, we had over 800 volunteers, over 100 interns, fellows, and organizers who are young people who are involved in the race.
Were you able to turn out a fairly large percentage of first-time voters?
Yes. So about 30% of those voting in 2020 did not vote in 2016.
That is a huge achievement just to get those people to the polls. Now, Democrats overall, however, not yourself withstanding, had a disappointing election cycle this year, most notably seeing their majority shrinking in the House rather significantly. In your view, what do you think happened? Do you think there was a messaging problem?
No, and I'm not sure about the other districts. I can speak to my district and really what we focused on. I come to this as a problem solver. I have worked with both parties to balance the budget during the Great Recession and help get the economy back on its feet during that crisis. And so we drew on that biography and my real focus on addressing the very real needs that people have in this district right now, addressing COVID, getting our economy back on its feet and get our children back in schools is the #1 issue for most people. And then we paired that with this very, very broad outreach effort all across the 7th District.
And of course, Congresswoman-elect, as we mentioned earlier, we are now less than a month out from Georgia's Senate runoff elections. As you know, Democrats' only hopes of controlling the Senate lie in those races. There are concerns, however, from both parties about voter turnout. Some Republicans worry that Trump supporters might not show because they believe the president's false claims that the election is rigged, so they'll figure, why bother? Democrats are worrying about how to galvanize those same urban and suburban voters and re-energize them after showing up in droves in November. So what do you believe it will come down to on January 5th? And do you see there in Georgia the same enthusiasm to vote in January that was there in November?
Absolutely, I do. And these runoffs are really about turnout. It's about going back to your base, your core voters, and getting them to vote in a time when most people are not used to voting, January 5th in this case. And really what we have to do is go back to that door-to-door operation. Sometimes it's phone-to-phone in the COVID world. But we have taken our entire operation of that grassroots outreach, we call it the field operation, and repurposed it over to the Senate races. And so we are engaged, even as we speak, in that kind of one-on-one voter outreach that we think will be very, very important to pushing Georgia over the line again in January.
All right, and Congresswoman-elect, I also want to get your take on the incoming class of new lawmakers on Capitol Hill. It's a very diverse group of individuals. In fact, the class of 2021 will feature the most women of color ever. What do you believe makes your class different from previous classes, and what will you be bringing to the table?
We really have had a number of very, very important conversations about bridge building. And we thought about even naming ourselves the bridge building class because we have to bring people together within the Democratic Party, where we have a lot of different viewpoints, a lot of people coming from very, very different and diverse backgrounds. But we also are very, very committed to bipartisan outreach and making sure that we are reaching out to Republicans and bringing people along to solve the really, really pressing problems that we face today.
I like that, bridge building. Who can argue with that? All right, well, Representative-elect Carolyn Bourdeaux, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.